Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual as Fuck or Whatever podcast. I'm Roxanne McDonald.
And I'm Joe Clements.
Today, we're going to talk about retreats. But first, we're going to talk about some other shit because I'm excited.
So excited.
Okay.
Keep going with this excitement.
So I don't know which one we should start. If you haven't been on our Instagram, spiritual_AF_or_whatever, just to keep it simple.
How bad do you really want it?
Yeah. But we posted the unboxing of our first kind of sponsorship.
It's our flow. We're on the flow team.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that, Joe. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about manifesting or generating or making shit happen at some point. Check
Intentions.
Your face. Yes.
Check your face.
Yeah.
Setting intentions. I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
But when we started this podcast, I was like, I want sponsors someday, but I don't want to just do like janky bad. Is janky okay word? I think
no
anyway.
Idea.
Anyway. And so I was like, well, what I was telling Joe to think about sponsors and he has never come up with one. But then I came up with my dreamiest dream sponsor of all time, which would be Poo-Pourri. And if you don't know what Poo-Pourri is, you should.
You need to know.
Okay, so we talk about it on our page when we unbox it, but I'm just going to tell you that like I hate I can't say name brands, but I hate the like stanky, gross like room spray that people put. It gives me a headache. It smells bad, and it is like spraying perfume. It is literally spraying perfume on a turd, and it just smells like turdy
so
flowers.
When you're associating the smell of the perfume, you're really just like there's poo and it mixed in it. And
it's mixed in me. And it's on and it's like yeah. So Poo-Pourri is this incredible product where you can. The best way to use it is to spray the toilet water first and then let your shit go, and it doesn't end up smelling. So it's so spiritual in the sense of like, think ahead, like be prepared, sure. And you're thinking about other people. And I love their
You're really doing people
branding.
a kindness.
You are. Yes, and they are all about accepting that everyone poops. And that
so
you should, it's about also just getting relaxed, because once you know you've sprayed the Poo-Pourri anyway. So I've been saying that, and then my editor sent me a picture of the blow up poo emoji that is a giant inflated poop emoji that Poo-Pourri brings around.
Is it like one of those people?
No, it looks like a bounce house.
That would be kind of rad if it was like a pooper, like a Poo-Pourri poop emoji. Anyway,
if your poo is going like,
well, it like yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Joe.
Okay. So anyway, I posted it and said like someday I'd love to have this at my birthday party or something. And then I just said shit. This like Poo-Pourri is my number one dreamiest dream sponsor for the podcast, and they DM'd me almost immediately and we're like, no need to dream. I'll took a screenshot. But anyway, they sent us a box of Poo-Pourri and we opened it on an IGTV that's actually loading right now. Yes. And they're so cute. If you're listening to this before the holiday season, I think when you buy Poo-Pourri, it's like a stocking stuffer.
Ho, gotta go is what it says on the side.
Merry Spritzmas. But they're also ornaments. So you can put them up on the tree, and it's a present. It's amazing. So we are going to be talking about our Poo-Pourri journey along the way, and just like act like that Poo-Pourri is a full-blown sponsor until they are.
Because they are sponsoring us
right now because they sent us. So what's a flow team, Joe?
A flow team is in skateboarding, when you're on the team but you're just getting product, you're on the flow team. Okay. You're not actually sponsored. But I like that. We're on the flow team, and it makes sense.
We're on the Poo-Pourri flow team. Yeah. And then someday we will be a solid member of the Poo-Pourri team.
Love it. See how this works? It's great. It's great.
All right. So then other big news, which I don't even know if I've told you about this, Joe. Okay. So it's with my decks. So I wrote the Spiritual as Fuck and Grateful as Fuck decks. And they came out in March of 2019. 2019. And when we were designing the box, so I did it with the publishing company Knock Knock, which is a gift publisher, but that does a lot more meaningful stuff now. And they have a lot of products in Barnes and Noble and all these bigger stores. But we decided to just put curse words on the outside of the box to make sure everyone knew what vibe this had, right? And we knew that when we did that Barnes and Noble would never take the products. And I found out a little while ago that Barnes and Noble picked up the Spiritual as Fuck deck.
That is so cool.
And it's in stores now, which is so like, cool. I still can't believe it. So they have never taken, I don't think they have ever taken anything with a curse word on the outside of the box, but somebody there looked deeper and was like they took the Spiritual as Fuck decks.
Cool.
So if you were thinking about getting one of these decks or more, because they are perfectly stocking stuffer sized, if you do that stocking stuffing sort of thing, or if you're thinking about getting them, going to Barnes and Noble and supporting them to carry things with curse words, just like to keep them in that store, because they're doing a trial run. And so, I think I'm going to do some sort of thing on my page to like incentivize it. Yeah. But it's just also like these two things, like they're little steps, but it's like dreams come true. Like you cool. just do your own shit. But anyway, those are my two big exciting things. Cool.
So what are we talking about today?
Today we're going to talk about retreats, because Joe, you are leaving. I'm leaving. And we have to try to figure everything out around your like Mr.
Don't
Spiritual
get into this,
schedule.
I've seen your schedule and it's pretty hectic.
Okay, but we're going to talk about retreats, about why people go to retreats, judgment about retreats, what's a good retreat, what do you get out of retreats, all of that stuff. So do you want to tell us where you're going first?
Yeah. In December, I'm going to Thailand, and I'm actually going to the first week is just going to be chilling and acclimating, and then doing a retreat. And when I say retreat, it's not a retreat that most people would think. I'm not going to get foot massages at all. There's none of that. It's basically, I feel like it's more of a mindfulness boot camp. So okay. I'm going to sit with Ajahn Amaro, who's he's a Buddhist monk from England actually, and he's doing a retreat out in Thailand. It's a pretty cool thing. So this is my first one ever doing it with like an actual Ajahn, a monk. So it's super cool.
What's Ajahn mean?
Teacher.
Okay.
I believe it's just teacher. So I'm excited to do that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's more of a mindfulness boot camp.
Why? What do you mean boot camp?
So basically,
do they scream at you? Stop it! Give me 10 more minutes of silence, motherfucker!
They don't.
The only thing that comes out of California.
They don't.
Talkers and thinkers. And we don't want any of those talkers and thinkers at this meditation retreat.
My mind definitely says that the whole fucking time. So yes, mentally for sure. The teachers not so much. Hopefully not.
That's what we do at the Spiritual as Fuck retreats.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. We're gonna shut the fuck off for a long time.
Sit, feel, heal.
Yeah.
You're healing now, see?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so basically this is what the schedule's like, and there's all these different kinds. So in the Vipassana Insight Meditation Retreat you can do anywhere from a day long, 3 days, 7 days, month, 3 month or longer kind of thing. So I've been doing these 7-day retreats. The first part of the first 5 years of my practice, I was doing these 7 to 10 day meditation retreats. I was really going to a lot of them. And but there was a progression with it, and I'll get more into that. But what the meditation retreat is basically in the morning, you get up and do a morning meditation. It's all in silence. There's no reading, no writing, and they really suggest no eye contact, just like you're in your own fucking vibe, which is super intense. And so in the morning, there's a morning meditation, and then you'll usually have a little breakfast, and you'll come back to the hall after a little free time kind of thing. And then do either sometimes a little instruction in the morning. A teacher will maybe have some instructions or a talk, a Dharma talk, a teaching. And then you'll spend the rest of the morning with anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes meditation, a sitting meditation, and then a walking meditation. And you'll continue doing that for the rest of the morning. And then you'll break for lunch, eat lunch, and then just a little bit of in between period, and then come back for sit, walk, sit, up into dinner. Then you do dinner, and then sometimes there's you'll just get back into sit, walk, sit, and then the evening will be an evening talk, and then another
where
meditation.
They're talking, you're not talking.
We're not talking.
You don't talk for the entire time.
No, the only time you engage is if you need to with the teacher, or you have set up one-to-one meetings with them, like once every other day kind of thing after the first couple days. Yeah, so it's pretty intense. It's super intense.
Why? What happens?
Well, yeah, what happens? A lot happens. So for me, like the first, how do I say it? So for me, what happens is I started seeing the fucking the it's hard. I'm trying to articulate it.
I don't think you should be looking at your computer.
I need to though, because
why?
So, all right. What I started seeing, so when I first started these meditations, first started meditating, was just going to groups, doing these like workshopy things kind of thing. And then when I first went to my first 3-day silent, it was fucking super scary. I'm like, I can't fucking do this. And there's almost like a pride thing, like I need to do this kind of thing. And I went, and the first 3 days, like I was just fucking basically bearing down and just like listening to the mind and just kind of, stories among stories. But what happened is I started having like, you have these like kind of aha moments, like, oh, that's it, that you soon forget. It's like quickly forget. Like, but what happened by the third day, like basically the last day of retreat, is I started seeing like the true nature of things within my own being, my emotions, thoughts, that they're impermanent. They're not who I truly am. Like I was seeing little glimpses of that, and that I was really seeing the suffering of my mind and my mind. So there's glimpses in it. I remember after that first retreat, by the third day, I was like, fuck, it's already over. And I went into it with so much fear and so much just like judgment, and coming out of it going, oh shit, there's something here. So I kept going. I kept doing it. And the first 3 days, always, it seems like there's a breaking point where it's just loud, but I knew was that I had that little insight of like, okay, this is impermanent. This will pass. This is not who I am. These are the tools that I could work with. And then by the third, fourth day, I really start settling in to a deeper trust, a deeper knowing beneath the anger, beneath the fear, beneath all that stuff that brought anxiety and depression, and get really tapping into that part that was underneath all that shit, the sadness, the loneliness, all that kind of stuff, and really got intimate with it. And that part of me. and started seeing the joy, the happiness, the connectedness. And it's almost like I started getting into, I get into, you get into, I don't want to say you, but I get into like more of a, a primal kind of mode, where it's just like, you can just fucking settle in. You don't need all this other shit, and you can really be with who you are. And in each moment, just like, and the connectedness where, I had some times where I remember one time, you can imagine everybody's in silence, but the loudest place is the dining hall, right? Everybody's eating, and all of a sudden you hear this clunking, clink, clank, clank, the plates and all this stuff. And I remember just being just chilling, and I was really into sound that retreat. That was kind of my anchor. I was checking like the impermanence of sound coming and going, really practicing with that. And I remember sitting in the dining hall and closing my eyes, and it was just like a fucking cacophony of sound, like almost music. There was a flow. You can hear the shuffling, clink, clink, clink. It was fucking cool. I was like just tripping on that, and it was super cool. And it was like a connectedness. It was like more, it was less of an irritation and more of like, oh, this is super beautiful. Seeing beauty in something that could be like an irritation kind of thing.
Yeah.
And starting to slow down like that. By the end of retreats, there's just an interconnectedness with everything. I feel like here's my magic part that I don't totally believe in. But walking around, especially like a few of the retreat spots, in forests and stuff, and I just fucking put my hand on a tree and just like chill there for like a long time, and just like feel. I remember one time just like laying in the middle of a redwood grove and just looking up and just like, oh my God, there's some kind of just stripping everything else away, and you're just fucking you in nature or whatever, and so that's what it brought me to. It brought an inner peace, an inner ease, and an inner knowing, a different relationship with my mind, not taking it so personal, watching the impermanence. And there's so much more to that, because it's in knowing that all the stuff that I was running from my whole life, I didn't need to run anymore, it seemed.
What did you find that you were running from?
Running from the uncomfortable, like how I'm perceived, how I'm judged, how like those uncomfortable feelings, any of the uncomfortable emotions, any kind of shit like that. So it's like running. When I say running, it's just like ignoring that kind of shit. Whether being with drugs, being with fame, being with whatever, so just being with all those, and it taps in to this younger piece.
Younger?
Yeah, the younger piece of me, the kid in me, really. I think I was fucking building a relationship with that, not leaving that part of me anymore. That felt maybe abandoned, felt judged, or whatever it was, because that's a scary fucking place. And there was some fucking huge, there's tears like almost the first fucking 3 or 4 days at most of the retreats.
You were crying?
Yeah, for sure, because it's all there, and not leaving that. So learning even how to cry, be emotional, and there's so much more. It's hard to really articulate what it is, but just seeing the transformation. And it really takes a little bit of time, and it can bring up a lot of stuff. So how the container is held is super important, really important. And I want to touch on that, because that's, even going into this retreat, I'm really scared. I'm like, I have some fear. I haven't been doing a little bit different kind of retreats lately. But I haven't sat with this teacher. And the first retreats I was doing, they're led by friends, like these friends that I like, lifelong friends. So I already felt safe enough to be there. I'm like, okay, they got me. So there was a trust, and I knew that I'd be okay. So there was some kind of, just having that was really beneficial for me.
I burped.
You did burp.
It didn't come out silent. I thought it was going to.
So that was super important. And later I had, like, when I started building that kind of foundation, that kind of trust in the practice, then I started branching out and doing retreats where I didn't really have a relationship with the teacher, but I liked the teacher. So there definitely needed to be a foundation. And yeah, and there's just a deeper knowing of, like I said, like basically the 3 marks of existence, that its existence is impermanent, not personal, and shit happens. Dukkha, unsatisfactory. Clinging to anything is unsatisfactory. Mm-hmm. So just really seeing on a deeper level, more than just the aha through the conditioning of life, but really what the essence of life, I think, in itself. So it changed my relationship and deepened my practice with meditation. And there's something about deep, long periods of silence that you can just strip away all the conditioning, all the stories that have been told. They're loud, but you can see underneath all the stories, and there's something else. So there's a huge therapeutic process with it. Mm-hmm. And on the other side of that, it does bring up a lot of stuff. It brings up a lot. And like I say, like, I was held, like my emotions, everything was held in a way where I felt safe, because it was with my homies, so they knew me, kind of thing. So I definitely know that I had a privilege with that, but also noticing too that, coming out of a retreat is fucking trippy. So I remember the first time coming out of a longer retreat, and I was driving home with my friend who was the teacher, and he was he was teaching the retreat, so he didn't really drop in like I was dropping. But I remember driving, like, you're fucking driving super fast, dude. And he's like, yo, I'm going below the speed limit. And I was just like, fuck, this is hectic. It was like the sensory overload. Yeah. And I've made the mistake a couple times where it's like, you want to have this, you get this deep experience, this connectedness with yourself and fucking really the world in a sense, mm-hmm. But then coming out of it, you're just this sensory overload, and it can be like, I'd come out so blissed out sometimes, and then first conversation with my mom, and it's just like, fuck, and I did one mistake where my family planned a trip down to Disneyland right after a retreat, like a 7-day retreat. I'm like, yeah, I'll be perfect, I'll be kind of, ready to just get in. I did some me time, and I was fucking bugging the fuck out. This is too much. It's like, it's too much for Echo. I was like, no, don't make him do that, and he doesn't want to do it. It was like, and Michaela was like, you are fucking banned from ever coming to Disneyland with us again. I'm like, good, fuck this. I was like, so it's super trippy to like go from that to that. So that kind of thing too is, I've been sitting with that a little bit more. How can we go in and out of these moments of silence and reflection, and then come out into connection and community? I think that's where I've been at lately. But even backing up, like when I first started doing any kind of meditation stuff and any kind of retreat stuff, it was more workshop stuff. The first time I was doing retreats was it was, like I said, like workshops where it was at Esalen. Mm-hmm. So you're already fucking blessed out. It's like, fuck, this is the best place ever. So
not everybody knows what Esalen is. It's Esalen Institute.
In Big Sur, and it's right on the ocean down in Big Sur. It's super beautiful. There's these natural hot spring tubs, and it's just like you're in community with people. There's different workshops going on.
Butterflies everywhere.
There's fucking butterflies everywhere. It's a beautiful garden, and like all the food is right from the garden. So there's this. I'm like, this is fucking great. I'm in it. So then when I started doing these silent retreats, it was like, where's that? So yeah. So I like lately I went to a couple retreats in the last couple years and I was reluctant when I found out that I signed up for this one retreat where we were doing that. We were kind of like titrating or pendulating between not moments, but periods of silence and deep practice, and then coming out of it into community for lunch or like different breakout groups and stuff like that. I was like, fuck this. I'm a fucking elitist Buddhist. You know, I do go to the silent retreats. You know, it was like kind of like that weird thing we were talking about where it's like, I'm better than everyone because I do these silent retreats.
Yeah.
You know, it's I had this whole ego thing. But then when I did it, I was like, I learned the most out of those retreats. And it translated better on coming out of it, you know, because I was already in community and coming in and out of my practice. So I've been looking into, I've done a couple of those retreats and I like that. And that's kind of, you know, as far as what I want to offer more stuff like that, especially for newer people coming into these kind of meditation retreats, the Vipassana insight meditation retreats. They're so fucking beneficial. They really fucking are. And they can bring up a lot of stuff. They can be sometimes traumatizing if they're not held right.
Yeah, that was my experience.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody did anything wrong, really, but I was deep into a meditation practice with our, you know, kind of teen punk, Dharma punk thing. And I went to day longs, and I would go and things would come up for me because it would, you know, you get into that silence. But what happened for me, which I couldn't name then, was my experience was different because I was coming out of intense trauma,
yeah.
And so these things that would come up, and there was this, I think, not that they did anything wrong because a lot of people were getting a lot out of it, but there was this kind of what I felt like was kind of obtuse, like, or like well, just do this. Suffering is this, blah, blah, blah. Well, then you might experience that. And I was having like my brain synapses weren't quite where, like, I would start to get silent and then rage would come out, or these things where I'd be like, I'm about to lose it, not lose it the way I know losing it now, where where I'm pushing myself or whatever. And so it wasn't trauma informed. And luckily I had enough infrastructure with people in my life who weren't necessarily talking specifically about that, but I knew how to trust myself. And so I went to a few day longs, and then I went, this isn't for me. And then I actually put together my own retreats where I was like, I would spend, 2 days without speaking in my house, and then have a session with my therapist.
Yeah, beautiful.
Because I was super
skilled.
There would be stuff happening for me that I was like, and also people, the community there would, or a rage would come out too. That would be something that happened for me. Almost every meditation retreat I've ever taken.
Rage.
Well, then there's always some like fucking white dude getting into my spot where I've been doing a walking meditation, and then all of a sudden he wants to change up his cycle and get into mine, and I'm like, and I will get like, I will fucking kill you, and you can't talk. And so, or like eating meditations where I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at? And then I get all mad at myself because I'm like, they're just eating, but I'm like, why are you looking at me? And so I just realized that wasn't my jam, really. I'm interested in actually trying again to do it because I'm a different person now that I've done all this healing. But I do a ton of retreats, other types of retreats. Yeah. So, and I think
which
the
are
importance.
Great.
Yeah. Well, I teach writing, and I teach writing at Esalen in 1440 with Ellen Bass, my mentor, who we're going to have on, who's a poet. And then I do writing. I go on writing retreats. So I go, for a week, once a year with, at Cheryl Strayed for the, writers camp. And then I go to my master's program for writing has 10-day residencies that I still go to because I want to go and learn. Yeah. And then I also want to write. But what I see too, and when I'm putting together retreats, or when we're putting together retreats, for the spiritual as fuck stuff is, God, I'm gassy today. I can't stop burping.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's still okay.
When I would be at these retreat centers because I've had this strange opportunity to be there at these bougie, nice ones, the ones where you are getting massages eating garden food and stuff. And then going, I wish more of my people could have this, more
Right.
of my scrappy, you know,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like all the, like I think of them like as these like the divine fuckheads, like we're just like, "Rah!" We're not completely on the yoga. I do yoga retreats too, only this one type of yoga, Kaiut yoga. So, but offering that, because what I know what happens for retreat is that we just kind of get away from our stimuli of our life.
Yeah.
And then we can regroup in whatever it is. Like if you're going for a painting retreat or a inner child healing retreat or a writing retreat or a yoga retreat. And it's like to get more tools and then to go back different. Yeah. And it never fails. Even when I go into a retreat and I'm like, I don't like anything that's going on here. Just the act for me of getting away from the stimuli in my life, even the great stuff, but I tend to get spun off center is really what I feel like happens. And that having a regular practice of going away from all the stuff in my life so I can regroup. I think driving, I'll drive a long distance and I have space to like be quiet. And then I usually make some like decisions about how to direct my life. So retreats are, for me, that's what that does. I think it's, you know, the silent retreats are way more intense.
They're intense, yeah, and that's why I want to continue my practice with that, because I do feel like I do have the tools to work with. I see the suffering and I see the causes of my suffering.
Yeah.
So I have the tools to work with that and not believe the mind so much. So mine is like really just fucking tapping into that. That's what I want to do, you know, for myself. There's a deeper knowing, there's a deeper learning, and it's not just to go and get blissed out. A lot of that shit happens.
Sure?
It's not, because it's fucking super intense.
Yeah.
And it's scary and it's fucking hard. But when I can really be with that shit, I can see underneath all the stuff that's hard and scary, and it's just my mind making up stories. And a lot of deep inner transformation has happened in my life through intense meditation retreats like that.
So you going to go on this retreat and come back and not be fun anymore?
No,
You sure?
Well, Michaela says I won't be. She says I'm more of an asshole for the first month or so.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm highly like, you know. But then
what is
just like overstimulated sometimes, you know, because there's so much sensory overload. That's what I mean. It's like, and she's joking, but there is a transition piece where it starts sinking in later a little bit, you know. So no, I'm not going to change. I don't
know. I know so many people have been like on their 10-day silent meditation retreat and they come back and then they suddenly are like so above all humor.
Yeah,
no. Like they want to write a memoir.
Yeah,
right. And well, I shouldn't really say that because that's like bread and butter. Yeah. But I'm also like, be really careful if you go on a 10-day writing retreat, or no, 10-day silent meditation retreat, and you suddenly think you should write the memoir about it, maybe wait a little while and check it out.
There's a 3-month grace period.
It might not be a very original idea.
Yes, exactly. And who knows what's going to be fucking...
Who knows? You're going to change so much.
And yeah, a lot of... So
I shouldn't have said that.
with me in my practice, it's just getting a deeper knowing of and I feel like I'm at a different spot in my life now than I even was before. There's so many, like, just learning how to fucking sit, just learning how to feel, you know. Now I have those tools and I can, it's still going to be difficult. It's going to be super hard. I know it is, you know, and I'm already on retreat really because I'm thinking about it already. You know, just leaving my son is super scary for me, you know. Yeah. And sad, you know, but it's super good as well. It really is. So such good benefits, a lot of benefits from sitting. And I used to think
sitting meaning meditating.
Meditation, yeah. I used to think, oh, this is going to change me, but it doesn't. It gets me in touch with me.
I think one thing, and this is another trope of what I see happen, is that you go on some sort of meditation retreat and then you come back and you're just all sorry. we are not our thoughts. Yeah. And you're just trying to get everyone to get it. We are not our emotions.
There's definitely that period.
Wait, that's not you. Yeah. Then you're just trying, and they like, oh, and then, but what I think that gets is this space. And you start, the more practice, like when it's like you've done the work. But what I feel like has happened, and I mean, I'm not as like spiritually Buddhist, trained as you, Mr. Levitator. You're going to come back and not be able to walk on the ground. But it gives me space between, like just a buffer. So like through years and years of recovery, I, in most instances, have a lot more space between when I am it happens and then when I respond and I speak.
Right.
So that pause, that ability to be like, wait, you might think about this, feel through, you don't. And then, so that pause has absolutely changed my life. Mm-hmm. And that pause between, or this, not even pause, because it's a space where I've been having some rough times and some like difficult conflict stuff. And that, even what I've seen is that it's happening and I'm having these big feelings, but I also have this where I'm like, oh, but I know that this isn't permanent.
Right.
Or I know that this will change. Or, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
This is a giant emotion. Look at me crying. Yeah. And that space has caused me to has allowed me to make better decisions in my life.
Yeah. Because we're not reacting, we're responding.
Yes.
We're responding with just like, this is what this feels like. This is what this is. Yeah. And it is, if that's that space. That's.
But it doesn't make it so I don't have those feelings anymore. I
not
still,
at all.
I am so lucky that my eyes cannot light people on fire, because I would be like Drew Barrymore in The Fire Starter. I'm such a kind, loving person. And I am like, I would literally like burn people alive in the moment.
Yes.
And that hasn't changed. But it just, then I can back up from that and quickly get to, you are a sentient being and I want you to be good and have goodness in your life and blah, blah, blah. All that stuff.
All that fucking movie
But it
stuff.
doesn't, I always thought that, I used to think that the more spiritual and personal development work I did, I would become less intense and less emotional. Mm. I just respond to it less.
Yeah, I think that's totally true, where it's like I'm not free of any of those emotions. Mm-hmm. I'm free from them, though. Mm-hmm. I'm free from the reactive states. They not always, but most of the time. Yeah. And even when I'm reacting from the emotion, there's wisdom, because I'm hella aware. It's like, oh shit, this is what's happening. So there's something to be learned.
Yeah, I think that when you grow up and you realize, you're like, I'm being a fuckhead right now.
Yeah, this is like what a fuckhead looks like. Look at you.
Yes. In the midst of it, to just be like, this is the familiar flavor of fuckhead I'm being.
Right. And so there's learning from that. Yes. There's wisdom. And those are the fruits that I've seen through deeper practice, through meditation. And I was that fucking person where like, you need to fucking wake up. Yes. Everybody needs to wake up. Can't you see?
Mickey Mouse! Wake up!
And it's like, people were just like, oh, yeah. It's like, see you later. It's like, oh. So I'm not as, I kind of went, I'm on the other end of that, where it's more personal and like, this is something that could fucking help everybody in maybe different ways. Like I said, so this longer retreat, these silent retreats, definitely is something that I find a lot of benefit in. And maybe it's not for everybody. It could be.
And I just want to also, like, I think starting slow, starting small.
And that's what I want to offer too, is like kind of what we're talking about, like what we're offering is pendulating, titrating between deeper practice, maybe some periods of silence, and then coming out into community, doing some cognitive stuff. I think is super beneficial. Movement. Is that's
actually moving your body, not pooping, but we will be incorporating poopery into the next spiritual fuck retreat, because there's only 2 bathrooms.
Yeah. Do that. But so that's one of the places where just opening myself up to fucking want to be free. I just want to be free. And when I say free, it's free from fucking the mental torment. I'm a cisgendered white male, right? Yeah. So I'm pretty free.
Who's middle class?
Middle class. So I'm free, but my mind can fucking imprison me.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I'm talking about, freedom. Just to be clear. Just to be clear.
Yeah, and I think with what we're doing and about the spiritual as fuck retreats too, are both having it be like, you know, deeply personal, but also playful.
Yeah.
And I think the playfulness, when you're beginning, and especially if you are tend to be a playful person or even a really serious person, the thing I always want to make sure happens, not in every retreat, but like in the things that we're offering now, especially, is to incorporate that being playful in the midst of having deep dives into values and what really matters and silence and facing ourselves and all of that. So, yeah, check it out. Well, probably by the time this airs, we're going to be having a link in the show notes for the next Spiritual as Fuck retreat, because we are one text message away from securing those dates right now. We're waiting for it.
Nice.
I sent it. I'm ready. Cool. We're ready. So check it out. But Joe, please come back still playful.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things.
Because I will beat the fuck
I know you'll beat the silly back into me.
I will beat it. I will. No. I'm not into violence anymore.
But I say check out these kind of things and do some workshops.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're into meditation and it's helping you, but also trust your teacher. Try to
trust yourself.
Trust yourself
more than the teacher.
Trust yourself. That's a great point. But just trusting in yourself, and it's not about the teacher all the time.
Yes.
For me, I like I said, it was my friends kind of thing, which is super helpful for me. Yeah. You know, and it's like just fucking talking about it can be triggering sometimes. You know, I was getting my haircut, and my barber Sergio at Get Faded, go check him out. He's awesome in Santa Cruz. But we talk about spirituality all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going on this meditation retreat. And he's like, yeah, what's that about? And I'm like, oh, told him 7 days silent, and we kept talking. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of hectic. He goes, yeah, bro, I was getting hella triggered just thinking about it when I was like getting all scared and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, man, because it is. It's like, oh shit. But there is some freedom. There's a lot of freedom when you can be in that. So check out checking in. No.
No.
Fuck.
No. All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Spiritual as Fuck or Whatever podcast. I want to thank Jeremy Miller for doing all of our editing and producing and helping us through the learning curve of becoming podcasters. You can find him at the Betterment Bros.
Yeah.
And Flicks and Six. Yeah. The link is in the show notes. And then anyone who got anything out of our podcast, please go rate and review.
5-star.
Yeah. Yes.
It's really easy. You just click that 1 star and it goes all 5.
Yes. But then also just click the little review thing and then be like, I don't really, right? Like, I love them because they're pee pee poo poo caca diarrhea. It's like, but all of those things matter. And it's just a little way of supporting us. Also, if you want to become a Patreon member, a patron of our Patreon, you can do it for as little as $4 a month. That's $1 an episode.
Putting up some guided meditations up there too. So
yeah,
get you into a practice.
I'm doing gratitude lists, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff. So, that, and then you can find Joe where?
On the Instagram, on the gram at _joe.clements_.
And then you can find me at spiritual_AF. And then also check out spiritual-af.com for our events. We are offering retreats and day-long retreats, and
got a lot of stuff we want to
sign up for the newsletter too. You just get it right in your inbox. Pow, like that. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. When you're feeling shit out of luck, remember you're spiritual as fuck. Down, now, 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 now. Ding.
When you're feeling shit out of luck, remember you're spiritual as fuck. Or whatever.